They say the Australian outback doesn't just reject life, it tolerates it. But anyone who has spent real time in the deep country knows it does something far worse. It watches, it waits, and every now and then, it reminds you exactly where you sit on the food chain. Over my years in the bush, I've had 3 complete sphincter blowout moments. 3 times where the thin veneer of safety peeled back, leaving me entirely at the mercy of the land. And all of them happened back in the late 70s, around the isolated, unforgiving country of the Ord River area. The silent pack. The first time occurred after a routine drive turned into a survival situation. My vehicle's diff snapped, dead and useless, leaving me stranded miles from nowhere. The daytime heat in the Kimberley is a physical weight that can crush a man, so I made a tactical choice. I'd wait for darkness and walk it out under the light of a full moon. At first, it felt like the right call. The track cut through a vast orange plain, illuminated by a massive, glowing moon. The ground was covered in flat, shiny stones that caught the lunar light, gleaming like some kind of ancient Italian courtyard. It was beautiful, glorious even, until the silence changed. I didn't hear them approach. That was the most sickening part. I just happened to glance to my left, and my heart dropped straight into my boots. Walking just off the track, barely 3 meters away, was a pack of dingoes. 9 of them, moving in perfect synchronized formation, keeping absolute pace with my stride. In the moonlight, every single one of their eyes was locked onto me. I looked down at their paws. I could see the dust puffing up beneath their feet. I could see the rhythmic drop of their footfalls. But there was absolutely no sound. Not a rustle of grass, not a click of a claw against stone. Just 9 silent predators, gliding through the silver light like ghosts. They stalked me like that for kilometers. The psychological weight of it was suffocating. I had nothing but a single water bottle. Desperate, I kept my eyes on them while crouching down, blindly groping at the ground until my fingers wrapped around some heavy stones. The human brain can only handle that kind of pressure for so long. Every step I took, a voice screamed in my head. If you trip, if you stumble, if you lose your footing for even a second, they will be all over you. And it is going to be a slow, agonizing way to die. Finally, the terror boiled over into pure adrenaline. I snapped. I started hurling those boundary stones at them like a human machine gun, roaring into the empty night. The barrage worked. They scattered into the shadows, but they didn't leave. They tracked me from a distance for another 10 clicks before finally peeling away into the dark. I was young and proud back then, so when I finally stumbled into the station house, caked in sweat and dust, I refused to say a word about it. But I didn't need to. One look at my face told everyone in that room that the bush had almost taken me. The River of Scales. The second mistake happened in a similar part of the Ord region, born out of the foolish confidence of youth. I'd set up camp too close to the water's edge, rolling out my swag on the ground. Deep in the dead of night, I was jarred awake by a sound that rattles you right down to your DNA. It wasn't a hiss or a splash. It was that deep, vibrating, prehistoric roar that only a massive saltwater crocodile can make. It's a sound that vibrates in your chest before it even registers in your ears. I didn't think. I scrambled out of my swag, grabbed my gear, and practically leapt onto the back of my ute, scrambling up onto the tray. I spent the rest of the night wide awake, frozen, staring down into the darkness. In the faint light, I could see them. Huge, ancient apex predators, sliding out of the black water and moving through the campsite below me. The ground belonged to them that night. I only made that mistake once. It isn't me. But the third event is the one that still keeps me awake when the night gets too quiet. I was camping way inland, tucked behind a series of rugged rock hills. I was with a mate of mine I'd grown up with, a local Aboriginal bloke who knew the country better than anyone. The landscape was choked with tall, dead cane grass. It was a suffocating environment. The stalks rose high above our heads, completely cutting off your line of sight. You couldn't see more than a foot in front of your face. It was a pitch-black night when I stepped away from the glow of the campfire to relieve myself. I pushed a little way into the brittle, whispering cane grass, did my business, and turned to head back. That's when I heard it. A voice calling my name out through the dark. It was coming from deep within the cane grass, well away from our camp. I froze. It was strange, because I knew for a fact I had just left my mate sitting safely by the fire. I waited, straining my ears against the dry rustle of the stalks. Then it called again. There was no mistaking it. It was his voice, his exact tone, his exact inflection. Thinking he must have wandered out for some reason, I called back and started walking toward the sound. I pushed deeper into the maze of dead grass. The voice called again, but the direction seemed to shift, drawing me further and further out into the blackness. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a hand clamped down hard on my shoulder. I nearly leaped out of my skin, spinning around with my heart hammering against my ribs. In that instant, reality rushed back. I realized I had walked deep into the cane grass. I was completely disoriented. My poor sphincter had taken a literal bite out of my shorts. But when I turned, I was looking into the face of my mate. He was standing right there. His expression was deadly serious, completely somber. I was thrown into total confusion, the terror twisting into a defensive spike of anger. "What the hell are you doing?" I snapped, breathless. "Your voice was coming from out in front of me. How did you get behind me?" He didn't blink. He just looked at me, his voice a flat, terrifying whisper. "It isn't me." We stood there, perfectly still. The bush went completely, utterly silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. I stared at him, trying to process it, the anger draining out of me as I saw the genuine cold fear written across his face. He wasn't playing a game. And then, breaking the silence, the voice came again. From deep in the grass ahead of us, his voice, calling my name. Now I was absolutely, utterly terrified. My eyes went wide, darting between my mate standing in front of me and the sound of him calling from the dark. He leaned in close, his whisper barely a breath, "Bad spirit." "We go back to camp straight away." If I had known which way the camp was, I would have run straight up his back to get there. I clung to him as he navigated us through the suffocating grass, back to the safety of the fire. Sitting by the flames, he told me the truth. He explained that for eons, this has happened out here. The old people know it well. Something in the deep country calls people away, mimicking the familiar voices of the people they trust most. Sometimes, they make it back to tell the tale. But often, especially if they are young, they wander off into the void and perish. They are never seen again. I know what I experienced that night. There is no denying the absolute reality of it. But to this day, when I think about that voice in the cane grass, I try to console myself with a rational explanation. I tell myself it must have been some rare type of mimicking bird, a trick of acoustics in the hills. But deep down, I know the truth. If he hadn't heard me wander off, If he hadn't tracked me down into that suffocating grass and grabbed my shoulder right at that exact moment, well, I don't think I'd be here to tell you about it today. Thanks for listening to our 14th episode. A like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated and means you won't miss out on the next episode. If you have any of your own Aussie stories you'd like us to read, drop us a line. Cheers from the Never Never.